one of the moments of the interview that everybody's talking about is when Lawrence O'Donnell poses this hypothetical question to Joe Biden that if he is the president of the United States and Bernie Sanders, who would still be in the Senate, somehow gets Medicare for all through the House and through the Senate, what would Joe Biden do? Would he sign the bill? And Joe Biden, straight face, comes out and says he would veto Medicare for all should it come through the House and the Senate and it's on his desk as president of the United States. Now, let's be clear about this. And these are numbers that I talk about on the show often. Every single year in this country, between 40,000 people and 60,000 people die because they cannot afford to go to the doctor. They can't afford basic health care. That is more than any war zone on the planet. But here in the United States, 40 to 60,000 people die every year because they can't afford to go to the doctor, and that number is zero in every other modern country in the world because they have government-run healthcare or government-paid-for healthcare, single-payer healthcare program. And anybody who's sick can go to the doctor, they can go to the hospital, and not have to pay anything out of pocket. But that's not the case here in the United States. Another number that I talk about is every year, 500,000 people go bankrupt because they cannot afford to pay the medical bills. The number of people who don't have any health insurance in this country is close to 20 million people. Knowing that, and you have to also know that Medicare for all would objectively be better than the private healthcare system that we have now, because every single study that has been done on that policy position, whether it's the Mercatus study funded by the right-wing hacks, the Koch brothers, or any of the more objective, trustworthy sources that have also done studies on the single-payer healthcare program versus our private health insurance system that we have now, every single study shows that not only would we be able to cover everybody in this country, it would cost less than we are already paying for healthcare. So by every objective measure, Medicare for all, a single-payer healthcare system, would drastically improve the lives of millions of people in this country. And it would cost less. But even though those facts exist, Joe Biden, in this hypothetical, is just handed Medicare for all. It passes the House, it passes the Senate, and he doesn't have to do any legwork. He doesn't have to lift a finger, spend any political capital to make that happen. It just happens to fall on his desk, and he still says he'll veto it. That's amazing. That is amazing. That is a level of corruption and callousness and indifference to human life that is just, it's hard to put into words. It's one thing if you're a millionaire, you're a billionaire, your healthcare is paid for no matter what happens, whether we have single payer, whether we keep the private health insurance system. No matter what happens, you're going to be fine and you don't have to worry about anything. It's one thing if that's your position and you still say, you know what, fuck everybody else, fuck Medicare for all, I don't want to do anything for anybody. That's one thing. Joe Biden is running for president of the United States. He is banking on everybody in this country, or a majority of people in this country, to come out and vote for him. But at the same time, he's going to give us a middle finger and say, fuck you, fuck your family, fuck your mom, fuck your aunt, fuck your brother and your uncle, fuck your dad. I don't care if you get sick and you can't afford to go to the doctor, but still come out and vote for me anyway. That makes absolutely no sense no matter what way you want to look at it. You're supposed to be representing us. You're supposed to be fighting on our behalf, but you're so in the pocket of the private health insurance industry that you're going to tell us to fuck off and at the same time come vote for you. It doesn't work that way. And already we have people out here trying to voter shame people into voting for Joe Biden because Donald Trump is worse, or they say Donald Trump is worse. And I was on David Pakman's show last week, and we had a 10-minute discussion about this, and the argument just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work that way. You can't just threaten people to vote for you, because nobody's just going to come out and vote for you. You have to inspire people. You have to give people a reason to believe that if I come out and take time out of my day, miss work, whatever it is, to stand in line. Sometimes some places in this country, you have to stand in line for 3 hours to cast a vote. You want me to do all that for somebody who is just going to put a middle finger to my face at every turn, at every opportunity? That makes absolutely no sense. And it's not just Medicare for all. This is Joe Biden's position on every issue. Fuck the voters. Fuck the base of the Democratic Party. I don't care what they want at all, but still come vote for me. whether it's climate change, Joe Biden, multiple times through this campaign, has broke his own pledge to not raise money from fossil fuel executives in the fossil fuel industry, and has gone and done huge multi-million-dollar fundraisers with executives and lobbyists from all these energy companies, and he also has them working on his campaign, crafting his climate policies. And you mean to tell me, while we're in the middle of a climate crisis, cataclysmic climate apocalypse, you want me to go and vote for somebody who won't do a goddamn thing to change that, and is actively working to make it worse, and he's in bed with the same people who've caused this problem to begin with? I'm not voting for that. I don't give a fuck what Trump is offering. Yeah, Trump might be slightly, marginally worse on the climate, but Joe Biden, like I said when I spoke to David Pakman, we're facing cataclysmic climate apocalypse, whether Joe Biden's president or whether Donald Trump's president. On mass incarceration and the prison industrial complex, Joe Biden is the architect of this crisis that we're dealing with right now. So you mean to tell me, yeah, Trump might be racist and he has disdain for black people, but I guarantee you Joe Biden is more responsible for black people being in prison than Donald Trump. So whatever issue you want to choose, Joe Biden has this, it's like a impulse, this reflexive impulse to just tell voters to fuck off and at the same time beg them to come out and vote for you. That didn't work for Hillary Clinton, and it's not going to work for Joe Biden. It's going to work even less for Joe Biden because they're starting to see through this shit. There were a lot of people who fell for this shit in 2016 when you're faced with a raving, lunatic clown show, reality show host who knows absolutely nothing about policy. You face him against Hillary Clinton, and you have this lesser of two evils conversation. There were a lot of people who bit the bullet and said, Donald Trump's a lunatic and Hillary Clinton is corrupt as shit and her policies are terrible, but I think I'd have to vote for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. Now, 4 years later, the Democratic Party hasn't moved an inch on policy. They haven't said, you know what, let's at least throw a bone to the voters. Let's give them something to vote for. They've had 4 years and they've been nothing but in opposition to every single progressive policy priority for those entire 4 years. And here we are later. The primary isn't over yet, but when the primary is over, and in the event that Bernie Sanders is not the nominee, they're going to try to shove Joe Biden down our throats while he's telling voters still to go fuck off. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care if you or your family get sick. I don't care if you die. I don't care if you go bankrupt for it. I don't care if you lose your house because you can't pay your medical bills. I'm not offering you anything. It's going to be you have the same choices you did in 2016. We haven't changed a damn thing. Vote for the lesser of two evils or get Donald Trump. Well, I'm not doing it. I didn't do it in 2016. I voted for Jill Stein because she more represents my policy positions than Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. And I'm going to do the same thing in 2020. I'm not voting for the corrupt establishment, corporatist politicians that the Democratic Party puts up just because they fearmonger and say that the Republicans are worse. The Republicans will always be worse, but I'm not going to I'm not going to endorse someone or vote for someone who is literally opposed to every single policy priority that I have. And especially on this issue of Medicare for all, because this is a crisis. This is arguably a bigger crisis than any we've dealt with in this country. Because like I said, the number of people who die every year is between 40 and 60,000 people. That's more than the amount of people who died all U.S. troops who died in Vietnam for the 20 years we were at war combined. And that's happening every single year. So it's 40,000 this year. It's going to be 40,000 in 2021. It's going to be 40,000 in 2020. This is like genocidal proportions of people dying for no good reason, just to prop up the private health insurance industry. And you mean to tell me I'm going to vote for someone who is also going to prop up that industry and tell me to go kick rocks? No, I'm not doing it. So it's stunning that Joe Biden just went out and said this in the middle of a Democratic primary to Lawrence O'Donnell at MSNBC. But this goes to show you that the Democratic Party, they have no interest in doing anything that the voters want. So if that's their position, don't expect people to come out and vote for you.